MediaPlex in downtown Windsor. This is a presentation of St. Clair College Journalism.
It's Friday, it's 10 a.m., and we're live. Welcome to the MediaPlex Friday Live. First, the news. The young man who was found dead in Windsor was killed by a gunshot wound, according to Windsor police. The victim, who was found in the 900 block of Church Street, has been identified as 16-year-old Chance Gauthier. A gunshot was heard, according to witnesses, in the early morning hours, although no weapon has been recovered. Officers were called to the area around 7 a.m. and located the dead man. With the Olympics underway, young athletes are dreaming of winning Olympic gold in their future. Xander Kelly has more.
With the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics underway, it's always important to pay attention to the young athletes dreaming of Olympic glory. Jake Ellis of Essex, age 12, is a member of the South Windsor Skating Club and recently won several awards at the 2017 Skate Canada Challenge in Montreal.
It was an all-of-Canada competition, age divisions 10 to 16. I competed 2 programs. I was second in the short program and third in the long and third overall.
Ellis has been skating for 6 years and spends at least 6 hours a week at the Capri Pizzeria Recreation Complex, where he learns from many coaches, including his own mother. Ellis dreams of one day competing in the Olympics himself, following other male Canadian figure skaters such as Patrick Chan, who Ellis recently met.
I definitely want to make it to the Olympics. A medal would be great.
I'm Xander Kelly, MediaPlex News.
Let's go to Jordan Ferris with our sports report.
Thank you, Barry. Canada is now up to 13 medals, including 4 gold in this year's Olympic Games. Mikkel Kingsbury and Ted J. Bowman are some of the medalists. In Canada, the Canadian women's hockey team is 3-0 in the preliminary rounds, beating the Olympic athletes from Russia, Finland, and the U.S. this week. And in basketball, the Windsor Express beat the Niagara River Lions 112-110 this Thursday. Logan Stutz led the team with 28 points to go along with his 2 assists and 4 rebounds, while Maurice Jones had 26 points, 8 assists, and 2 rebounds. And in hockey, the Windsor Spitfires continue to struggle, losing both of their games this past week. The Spits lost their first game of the week 2-0 against Niagara on Sunday, and former Spitfires captain Aaron Lachuk made his return to Windsor for the first time since being traded. It was a 5-4 overtime loss against the Colts. Lachuk was named first star of the game with a goal and 3 assists. With the 2 losses this week, the Spits now have 9 games lost in a row. That's all for your sports this morning. Back to Barry.
Now let's kick it over to weather with Casey Cooper.
Thanks, Barry. It's 0 degrees in Windsor right now, but with that wind chill, it feels like -5. Temperatures will be dropping down to -11 tonight. Tomorrow we'll have a mix of sun and clouds with a few flurries, a high of 0 Celsius, and a low of -6 at night. Sunday, it'll be mainly sunny skies with the temperature starting to warm up, going all the way into next week. It'll be a high of 2 and a low of -1 on Sunday, with Monday warming up to a high of 11. This has been the Weather Report with Casey Cooper. Back to you, Barry.
Windsor police are investigating an armed robbery at a near downtown convenience store this past Wednesday night around 8:30 p.m. Windsor police said a witness observed the suspect entering a dark-colored car after robbing the store. The suspect was described as a white male, around 5'10", wearing a Monster Energy hoodie, black sweatpants, and gray shoes. The store has been the site of numerous robberies dating back to 2015. Today we'll be talking Chinese New Year, tropical plants, small business expos, and more. This Friday Live. With the ice still on the ground, Angelica Haggart is going to tell us about a group that wants to make sure everyone has a chance to use it.
Churches are usually warm and welcoming places, but at All Saints Church in downtown Windsor, it's all about the ice. Ice skates, that is.
The church has been lending out skates for 15 years, with volunteers on hand every Saturday morning, just waiting for people to stop by.
We're giving a lot of people a chance to skate who've never had a chance before. We think that we're giving them a healthy pastime for a lifetime.
To borrow skates, all you have to do is show up.
On a Saturday morning between 10 and 12, sit down and let us take your shoe off and we'll size you up and out you go.
Teachers can arrange to borrow hundreds of pairs to take their classes on field trips. After just one trip to the rink, some teachers are already planning for next year.
As one kid said, best field trip ever. It was every kid learned to skate. Kids with special needs learned to skate. They were positive. There was that growth mindset, not giving up. It was the perfect field trip.
Rinkside, a handful of volunteers are on the ice to inspire the next generation of potential Olympians.
This is the most rewarding thing I do all year. This is when it's a nice day and there's 50 kids on the ice and 50 sets of parents, and you could the love in the air is palatable. It's something else.
In downtown Windsor, Charles Clark Square and All Saints Church make the perfect pair. The rink here is free for anyone to come and skate on and is open, weather permitting, from December until March.
100 years this November, World War I ended. Christina Chibani is here to tell us about how people are keeping military history alive.
Experienced military historians take us inside their world. The 13th annual Windsor Military Studies Conference took place this past weekend, which educates the public through a series of lectures and presentations on the history of Canadian military. The event took place on Saturday, February 10 from 9 to 2. With guest speakers such as Tim Cook, a First World War historian at the Canadian War Museum and an award-winning author of 10 books. Peter J. Way, professor in American history. Kenneth R. Shepard, history professor at Henry Ford College in Dearborn. Patrick M. Dennis, a retired Air Force. And Charles Bain, a Windsor-based historian and author. University of Windsor head of the history department, Rob Nelson, says that the conference offers military education for the public.
So we always get a lot of people from the community attending, and they come for their hobbyists. They enjoy military history and they want to learn, so it's educational value and entertainment for them.
The event also featured performances by the Windsor Regiment Band and the Essex and Kent Scottish Pipes and Drums, and also book vendors. For more information on how to donate, visit www.bellevueconservancy.com. From MediaPlex News Now, I'm Christina Shabani.
With all the snow around, some people are trying to bring the tropics into their home. Grace Bauer has more.
The snow is falling, wind is blowing, and people are buying plants at a local tropical garden. Kalasani's Tropical Gardens in Kingsville, Ontario carries a wide range of plants. While some might think the plant sales plummet in the winter, it is proven otherwise. Thomas Dick is an employee who has worked at Colasanti's for over 4 years.
Most of the time, after people take down their Christmas trees and their Christmas decorations, they kind of see that their house is empty, so they kind of look for something to fill it with.
Thomas says that Christmas is their busy season, but they tend to sell more plants just after Christmas. Colasanti's has a big selection of clean air plants. NASA has a study out about different plants that take out toxins from the air. Formaldehyde and benzene are some examples. Mia Elford was shopping for houseplants at Colasanti's with her parents and younger brother. She said that the reason that they buy houseplants in the winter is
because it makes us feel like it's more like spring.
In light of the change of seasons, Colasanti's will soon be preparing for summer by getting all of their bedding plants in by the end of April. For MediaPlex News, I'm Grace Bauer.
Windsor is a small city, and that usually means a small business sector. Caitlin Kenny is here to tell us about those businesses that are networking themselves.
Are you a small business owner looking to network in the Windsor community? The Windsor Essex Professional Business Exhibition is a great place to start. The first event of many gave small business owners an opportunity to network with each other and the public. At the Kubota Club, roughly 15 to 20 business owners attended the event, and some offered free services like eyebrow waxing and foot exams. Terry Reese, owner of Go Events Windsor, organized the event and wishes to bring businesses together in the community.
I create these events myself to put people face to face in front of opportunity.
The next Windsor Essex Professional Business Exhibition will be on March 1st at the Kubota Club. Come out and show your support for local businesses.
A month and a half into the year is driving us closer to the looming tax season. But Torsia Valuzian, Money Minute will help you cope.
Hello, I'm Torsia Feldheisen, and I'm here to help you with your taxes. It's February, and that means people will begin to receive their T4s. Here's a little information on helping you choose the right tax professional. There are two types to choose from, tax preparers and tax accountants. Tax accountants have finished a 4-year university degree, where tax preparers may not have a formal education but have gone through a tax preparation course. Some companies like H&R Block have their own accredited courses. When selecting someone, make sure to ask about the type of training and education they have received and check to make sure it is accredited by the Canadian Revenue Agency. If you have investments, rental properties, or are self-employed, ask about experience and knowledge to your particular tax situation. And finally, watch out for fees. Ask upfront to see if the fee is based on hours, if it is a flat fee, or if it is based on a percentage of your return. I'm Torcia Veltheisen, and this has been your Money Minute.
While the Gregorian calendar rolled over to 2018 a few weeks ago, today is the celebration of the Chinese New Year. David Lafreniere has more.
Joining me today to talk about Chinese New Year traditions is President of the Chinese Association of Greater Windsor, Jiangzhou Ma. Welcome, and Happy New Year.
Thanks.
If I can get this, if I can get this right, Zian Nian Hao. Did I get that right? How did I butcher that bad?
Xin Nian Hao.
Xin Nian Hao. Excellent. Happy New Year. One of the big traditions at Chinese New Year is to share with family, friends, get them together and sharing of gifts. Can you tell me about that in the Chinese tradition?
Sure. Of course, the New Year, Chinese New Year, or we call that Nian, probably the most important festival in China. You know, that's the most celebrated, and it's kind of a family reunion time. Everybody, wherever they are, they try to talk to their family members. If possible, they'll go back to their the hometown to celebrate with all the family members together. So when that Nian, we have all kinds of different traditions, depends on which region they're from. So, but the main theme would be red. Yeah, everywhere they try to decorate in the red colors, and they have probably the most famous red envelope with the lucky money, stuffed, and give it to their kids, the blessing, happiness, and all others. They also have a red banner. They just post on the door and say all these good lucky words.
Yeah, it's one of those things on the door, it gets turned upside down?
Yeah, one of the big thing would be the so-called happiness. In Chinese would be fu, and they put the way that very unique. It's upside down, meaning that the happiness is coming, is falling down to you.
So another part of the cultural tradition is the dragon dance, and with that, there's often fireworks. Can you tell me the significance of that,
yes,
please?
The dragon dance is most of the time, in the south region, they talk about to dance like lions, usually, or dragons. So that depends on what style they will try to perform. But the main reason is that this is the celebrating time that we have to do it all together, and everybody participate. And for in Windsor, we also preparing for that dragon dance.
Now, when the family comes together, like many holidays in all cultures, it's about food.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
The cuisine.
Can you tell me about some of the unique foods that are part of the Chinese New Year tradition?
Yeah, one of the unique part would be the fish, because the fish pronounced in Chinese yu, means we always have something left for us, and it continues, it keep going, and that's why every family would eat the fish. So that's a unique part. And of course, others, they often, depends on which region, they have different, way of doing things. And the dumpling would be another part. It's so famous everywhere, yeah. And the dumpling is around the happiness, like the reunion, so everybody together, yeah.
And exploring and sharing all these cultural traditions, that's part of the Chinese community in Windsor. The Greater Chinese Association in Windsor is having a New Year's Gala. Can you tell me about that?
That'll be Friday, and we do that the second day. So that'll be 17, and then we have a big one that in Chrysler Theatre. Well, if you call the different name, the Center of Arts, right? And that one we have two parts. First one is eating, dinner part, and then followed by art performance. So that will be, probably I think we try to make a tradition now in Windsor. Part of the Canadian culture is multiculturalism, and Chinese culture is part of it. We use this opportunity to promote it, and we invite friends from all ethnic backgrounds. And of course, probably majority will be the Chinese.
Well, thank you for sharing the Chinese New Year traditions with us on 3 Minutes With.
While it's cold outside, Ryan Jones is telling us how some schools are getting colder to help fight climate change.
It's time to get cozy. Schools of the Greater Essex County District School Board are wearing sweaters this month to combat climate change. Board workers are turning down the thermostats by 2 degrees to preserve energy. Scott Scantlebury is the Public Relations Officer and said this motion is known as Sweater Day or Sweater Month, and it started 3 years ago.
Was a result of
in most cases a result of the promotion done by the World Wildlife Federation, which adopted National Sweater Day as a good opportunity for people to express their concern about climate change.
Sweater weather will continue until the end of February. Will you be wearing a sweater this month? This is Ryan Jones for MediaPlex News Radio.
March Rand was in the studio with Rakshini Ponia Gulen of the Downtown Mission to talk about how they are helping the homeless through the cold winter.
So how did you prepare for the extreme cold weather and the snow warning?
Well, we prepared by making sure we had staff on hand to accommodate the more people that we were expecting, as well as volunteers. As well, we made sure the facility was accessible to all, making sure all the pathways are shoveled and things like that, and that we, of course, had the people there to accommodate the extra need as came up.
So were there more people than ever due to this weather?
There were definitely more people. We had probably up to 50% more, here and there, depending on the time of day and the weather conditions as well. This morning, for example, usually the mornings are pretty slow, and we had almost a full house when I left earlier to come to this interview.
So what happens when people show up with their pets?
When people come with pets, if it's a service animal, we allow them to come in with the person. Obviously, we won't let them go. But if it is just a pet, not a service animal, we unfortunately can't accommodate them as well. So what we will do is we'll try to find another location to keep the animal safe as well, like the Humane Society, for example, and then the person can stay at the mission without their pet.
So what accommodations you have for children over there?
We are now actually able to have a dorm for youth and family, and children as well, of course, if a family comes with a child or children, which allows us to keep a family together, whether they're going through a traumatic experience, they've lost their home, whatever the case may be. So they're able to stay together to get through that difficult time.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, we have our biggest fundraiser of the year coming up next Saturday. Saturday, February 24th is the coldest night of the year walk. And it starts at 5 p.m. at the mission, and people can walk with us in support of homelessness and hungry and hurting people.
While it may be cold outside, we have a long weekend ahead, so why not sit back and let Josie Richards tell you what to binge on Netflix.
Josie Richards. As we get closer to the weekend, I know you all want nothing more than to kick back and relax. And what's a better way to relax than by lying on the couch and binge watching Netflix? That's where I come in. I'll be giving you a weekly recommendation on what I think are the best flicks on Netflix to watch. So this week's show is The Last Man on Earth. I've only just started watching, but the constant roll of awkward jokes is what's got me hooked. This show is a post-apocalyptic comedy starring Will Forte. With 4 seasons and 59 episodes, that's a lot of material to feed your binging fire. And thankfully, this show is still in production, so there's going to be many, many more episodes to come. Will Forte plays Phil Miller, the main character, and believes himself to be the last man on Earth. He runs into Carol, played by Kristen Schaal, and of course, they jump to the conclusion that their purpose, as the sole survivors of a deadly virus, is to repopulate the world. Guys, this show is hilarious. Here are 3 reasons why The Last Man on Earth should be your show of choice this weekend. 1. The cringeworthy situations. Phil constantly reads sexuality where there is no sexuality to be read, which makes his interactions with other characters both hilarious and cringeworthy. 2. It has a refreshing take on the apocalypse. With so many shows and movies focusing on the bad aspects of the end of the world, like Hunger Games or Divergent or The 100, it's refreshing to see a show come at life after the end of the world from such a new angle. I mean, how unique? And 3, the impossibleness of it all. Somehow, these ragtag bunch of characters are able to figure out how to continually fuel the trucks they drive, refrigerate the food they eat, and stay clean and well-groomed without running water. And there you have it. Tune into the best flicks on Netflix next week for another recommendation.
While the Olympics brings the world of global politics into sports, let's bring it back home for This Week in Politics with Matt Flood.
Thanks, Barry. This week in politics, Ontario Premier Kathleen Wynne stopped at St. Clair Centre for the Arts last night for a town hall meeting. The Premier was met with both support and disdain from the crowd as questions were thrown her way. The Premier answered questions regarding mental health, water safety, and Indigenous rights, among other things. The race for Ontario Conservative leadership is ramping up as candidates went head-to-head in a debate yesterday. The candidates discussed sex ed, marijuana legislation, and the possible return of former PC leader Patrick Brown. Tanya Granick-Allen stood strongly against his return. Christine Elliott and Caroline Mulroney supported it if he cleared his name, while Doug Ford said he wanted the facts before deciding. Brown has until 5 p.m. today to announce his bid if he does want to run. Parliament Hill, the Liberal government, has stated that they are planning legislative framework for Indigenous rights. The announcement comes after the Colton Boushie controversy following his death. The framework will be designed to recognize and implement Indigenous rights and build a foundation for future legislation regarding the issue. This has been your Week in Politics. Back to you, Barry.
Let's give it over to Ferris and Harris for Sports Talk.
Good morning and welcome to Sports Talk with Ferris and Harris. I'm Jordan Ferris.
And I'm Tay Harris. Back again, Jordan. Are the Oilers' season done? Because they're playing like it. Edmonton lost 4-1 to the Vegas Golden Knights yesterday. Will Edmonton make the playoffs?
I really don't see them making the playoffs. I think we've reached the cutoff where a comeback just isn't possible unless you were to go on a run like the Blue Jackets did last year, where they won a ridiculous amount of games
16,
in a row.
I think.
Yeah, but other than that, there's any team that's 5 points out, I see having a difficult time getting in.
Now, here's the big question. You think another first overall pick will help the team?
No, please. Just, if they get another first round pick, I don't know what I'll say. Like, I'll scream. I'll scream on the inside.
What do you see being the biggest problem with the Edmonton Oilers?
I think they're slow. They don't have a lot of wing support. They're strong down the middle. You got Draisaitl, McDavid, and Nuge, but he's injured right now. So it's just they need a supporting role. You can't have a film with only main actors. You need supporting roles, right? And Steve Simmons, talking about Olympics here, he wrote an article recently how some medals are more important than the others, and he specifically addressed the mixed doubles curling. What do you take on this article?
Well, it's tough to say. Are medals worth more? Like, if Team Canada, the hockey team, gets a bronze medal, is it worth as much as a gold medal in mixed doubles, a new sport? Steve's main argument was that these guys, John Morris and Caitlin Laws, that won the mixed doubles curling, didn't train their whole lives for mixed doubles.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you were to throw me on a curling thing, I would do awful, right? Like, there is training that goes into it, and there's a lot of pride with it. So I don't think you can necessarily just sit there and say, well, because this sport you do a little bit more, it means more, because you train differently for every sport. Everything's different. It's a different environment, different play, like different routine.
Yeah,
you can't
100%.
compare apples and oranges.
I agree with you, and the best part is that they play curling their whole lives. Again, that's all for your sports talk this week. Tune in next week for more of the hottest sports topic takes. Back to our bearable Barry.
That's more like it. Let's get into your weirdness of the week with Xander Kelly.
Is it weird news time? It's weird news time. Let's go! A Brazilian drug dealer is being given some very confused praise by many for doing some wrong things for some good reasons. Tomás Vieira Gomes, aka 2N, is thought to be one of the most dangerous drug dealers in Rio de Janeiro. He and his gang kidnapped 2 male nurses and made them vaccinate his whole neighborhood against yellow fever. Brazil has been dealing with yellow fever epidemic for months, and poor regions like 2N's have a hard time getting their vaccinations ready. After the 2 nurses were done vaccinating the whole neighborhood, they were safely returned to work. So, good job, I guess, drug dealer man. Danny Filippidis would really like to know how he wound up across the USA. Filippidis was reported missing Wednesday, February 7th from Whiteface Mountain during a skiing trip and turned up in Sacramento, California on Tuesday, the 13th of February, with very little memory of the time in between. Filippidis told deputies that he remembered very little, but thought he'd suffered head injury, rode in a big rig-style truck, and slept a lot. I for one hope to figure this out. It's a little creepy. And finally, let's have a Florida man. Alright, Florida man, let's see. Florida man. False alarm. No Florida man. There is no Florida man today. False alarm, folks. So I guess that's your weird news for this week. You have a good day, folks.
Well, thank you for tuning in. Friday Live is a presentation of St. Clair College Journalism. Our production team consists of Xander Kelly and Ryan Percy. This week we had contributions from Jordan Ferris, Tate Harris, Josie Richards, Matt Flood, Xander Kelly, Angelica Haggart, Christina Chibani, Grace Bauer, Caitlin Kenny, Torcha Velusian, David Lafreniere, Ryan Jones, and March Rand. I'm Barry Hazelhurst. Have a great weekend.